So, hello friends. Today we have with us Bijal Shah. Bijal is a practicing chartered accountant. She has worked with ENY, Ernst and Young in past, and now she practices in audit and tax both. Bijal, please tell us about your academic background and your current profession.
Yeah, so thank you, Ganesh. I am from Mumbai and I've done my BCom graduation from Narsi Munji College of Commerce and Economics, Villeparle. And simultaneously, while doing my graduation, I pursued the Chartered Accountancy course. And post qualification, I was, like you said, I was working with Ernst and Young, which is one of the big four global consulting firms. And I was in the domain of international taxation. And after taking some experience from EY, I started with my own practice.
Okay. So, Bijal, tell us about chartered accountancy course. If somebody wants to become a chartered accountant,
Mm-hmm.
what is the whole process? How does he go about it? How many exams? How does he become eligible for the course? And so on.
Right. So CA is I think, one of the most difficult courses in India. The eligibility to begin with is that you have to pass your 12th board exams, post which you can begin with your CA. You have to
Okay.
give an entrance exam. Post that, after 9 months of the entrance exam, you have to give an intermediary exam. Once you
Okay.
clear the first group of your intermediary exam, you can start with a 3-year mandatory internship, which is essentially to be done in a CA firm. You can also opt for industrial training in your final year of internship, alternatively. And post your articleship, which is your internship, you have to give your final CA exam, which again, like the intermediary exam, has two groups to clear with 4 papers each. And also, if you plan to begin with your CA post your graduation, then you need not give the entrance exam. You can directly start with your internship and begin with the intermediary exam instead of the entrance exam. That is, if you are done, you are already a graduate.
Okay. What skills and subjects do you learn in these 5 years of course, or a student will learn
Auditing,
if he enroll
taxation,
for it?
various laws that keep coming, how to basically manage finances, how the government works, how what budget whatever is the budget of the country, how they function. You also learn a lot of people management skills, and yeah, basically you learn about the various laws of the country and how you can structure your business, how you can do a
Okay.
business, even if you are not looking at a job or a practice, but if you want to start with a business, it gives you a lot of insight into how a business runs in terms of cash flow management, managing your finances, how to structure a business, how to structure your organization. In that sense, it gives you a lot of learning as well.
You mentioned CA as one of the most difficult course in India. Why do you say so?
Because CA has a lot of, in terms of exams, it is very difficult to crack the exams. In CA, you enter easily. It is very difficult to exit the course and complete with your degree. So the exams are very difficult to crack. It has a very low pass percentage, and it requires a lot of dedication and hard work and a lot of time to clear this course. So that is
Hmm.
why syllabus of CA is very vast and it is very dynamic. It is constantly changing as the laws keep changing, amendments keep coming. So in a way, it is difficult.
Right.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. So, Bijal, you completed a chartered accountancy course, and after working with Ernst and Young, you chose to start your own practice.
Right.
Uh, Now you've been practice for
2 years.
since last two.
Right.
Right. So, how has been your experience of doing a job and doing a practice? How do you raise the pros and cons of should a chartered accountant go for practice or should he go for job?
Right. So now, see, both job and practice have their respective pros and cons. There is no standard rule that something one over the other, or one of them is ideal. It depends on your choice, your necessities. If you to begin with, in a job, you get a lot of financial stability. since you are getting a fixed salary every month, and you get good growth in your profile. There are various profiles to choose from in your field, like in finance you can also do management consultancy, you can do audit, you can do indirect or indirect tax. There is a lot of scope. There are a lot of multiple kinds of profiles which a chartered accountant gets to work on. And so that ways it is a very good thing. However, in terms of work timings, it can be very taxing. Sometimes it's not sustainable for a long period, and since the work hours are very demanding, so in that sense, the job can be difficult. Whereas if you come to practice, it gives you a lot of freedom and independence, as you are your own boss and you can manage your time well. And the harder you work is directly proportional to your remuneration. So the harder you work, the more your income. In that sense, practice is very dynamic, and with practice, you can pursue multiple things uh, which you may have interest in, which may be in a job you can't do. And yeah, but of course, in practice it is very difficult to get and maintain clients. So that is one of the things which is very difficult in terms of practice. Like, it takes time to develop a practice and to generate a lot of revenue. Initially, in your initial years of practice, you may not really have a lot of revenue as you may when you begin with a job. And the above you go in ladder in a job, the more difficult it is to get on the practice side, because you are earning a higher salary, and then to leave that salary and start afresh in a practice also can get very difficult.
Right.
And without experience in a job, if you directly jump into practice, that also may not be very advisable, because you definitely need some experience before you start on your own. So yeah,
So
you
what?
can also, when you are practicing initially, when you don't have sufficient remuneration from your practice, you may have to do alternate stuff, like maybe you can get into teaching on a part-time basis, or you can collaborate
Hmm.
with a senior chartered accountant and simultaneously develop your own practice by side. So something like that
Hmm.
maybe. Of course, see, hard work is everywhere. Even in practice, there are times when I work for like 18 hours straight. When you're running your own business, your own practice, you never leave work. Like, it's all the time going on in your head. So you have to
Right.
constantly think and plan, and you cannot leave it. Like, even if you go on a
Right.
vacation, your clients may still call you and you cannot avoid them totally. In a job, once you're on leave, then you can forget everything else.
Right. Right. So there has been an impression sometimes that because now we have well-paying jobs for chartered accountants and good workplaces to work
Hmm.
in, uh, sometimes doing a job is considered better than doing practice.
It
But
definitely is, because it gives you a lot of stability, and you get to interact with a lot of different kinds of people. The kind of exposure that you get is very different from when you start with your own practice. See, your interactions will be limited to the kind of people you meet. And initially, when you're starting off, you don't really get multinationals as your clients. So your clients will have a staff which is not, very well versed with what they are supposed to do, and you may have to sit and train them. And sometimes you will feel that you are not really getting paid enough for all the value addition you do to that firm, in terms of training and online on call advisory, which just happens. Nobody really pays you for it. So yeah, I mean,
right.
definitely jobs can be much more simpler than practice.
Okay. Okay. So what areas of practice can a young chartered accountant look at now if he wants to start a practice?
Since GST is one of the biggest reforms of late recent reforms,
Hmm.
it has a lot of scope. So,
Hmm.
practice into indirect tax, into GST, can be very remunerative, because a lot of clients, a lot of old chartered accountancy firms are not really getting into the GST practice because it is very cumbersome. So, a new chartered accountant who is all enthusiastic and is going to anyway start. Everybody is at par with GST. Old senior people, fresher CA, the experience is at the same level because it's a new law. So GST has a lot of scope
Right.
because everybody's at par in this law. And also, Ind AS is something which you can look at because you can always assist a lot of multinationals in implementation of Ind AS on a consulting basis. That also has a lot of scope.
Right. So, when if a chartered accountant wishes to start a practice, a fresh graduate, what will be the prerequisites, or what does he need, or he should have?
So there are
Right.
two main challenges when you're starting off with a practice. One and the biggest challenge, of course, is getting new
Hmm.
clients. That is very important. So you need to be very good with your
Hmm.
networking skills and your communication skills, and you have to really convince your clients, your prospective clients, as to how you can add value to their organization and what can you bring on the table which can benefit
Hmm.
their organization in a better way. So that is one thing, and the
Right.
prerequisite or the other challenge is that one has to always stay updated with the latest developments. And since such a dynamic field, you have to keep reading all the time, attending study circle
Hmm.
meets, training sessions, etc. to just to keep you updated because when you're starting off a practice, the kind of clients that you will get will need a one stop solution to everything. If you say that, okay, I only do, say, only indirect taxation, the client may just pick up the phone and ask you a direct tax question which may be very basic. So if you don't know it, then your client may
Right.
feel that, I don't want to keep talking to multiple consultants, I want a one stop solution to everything. So you need to be updated about all the latest developments happening in, at least broadly, happening in the different sectors. He should be willing to take up a lot of stuff which he may not necessarily want to do. As in, somebody must, can be willing to have a niche practice with only, say, a valuation practice or only international taxation practice. But initially, you may not get enough clients in that particular niche field. So initially, you may have to take up some, say, for example, accounting work which you may not really want to do or like to do, but you need to do just to maintain your revenue to start with that. Yeah.
Right. So to update yourself as
Kind
an,
of.
you have to be an all rounder
Yeah.
in terms of the various fields of
Yeah.
practice
Totally.
and keep updating yourself. Okay. So on this, I'm going to ask you one more question. How important is articleship for a CA student? We hear a lot of cases
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
students
Yeah.
offer dummy
So see,
articleships
there
also.
are two
Um,
sides to
you
it.
an
One
opinion?
side is that articleship is very, very important. It is like the basis of what you will do in future. Say for example, you are doing if you work in a mid, like I did my articleship from a mid-sized CA firm. So a mid-sized CA firm offers you multiple
Right.
work profiles, as in you get to work into, say, audit, direct tax, indirect tax, drafting of legal documents, international taxation, everything. So you get to explore different areas
Hmm.
of our field, and you get to decide as to what you like, and post qualification what you want to do. So articleship is a period where you can experiment, which
Right.
you cannot do post once you qualify, because then that when you are looking for a job, there is a lot of specialization and a lot of departmentalization, and you cannot always do everything unless you work with a very small or a mid-sized CA
Hmm.
firm, which again will not be as remunerative as the bigger firms. So then you have to decide. So
Hmm.
articleship, any which ways, is like an internship where it's all about learning and not really about earning. So that is when it is better to explore different fields and decide what would you like to do in future. So that ways it is very critical. Like I did it from
Right.
a mid-sized firm. I got work exposure of different fields, and I could then decide as to what I like, what I don't like, what I definitely don't want to do, stuff like that. But there is also another view that CA is a very dynamic profession. There are things like management consultancy. So when you're doing your articleship, very rarely you get to explore these aspects. So sometimes if you really want to get into those fields, then maybe your articleship experience may not be of complete use if you get into these other niche fields. So yeah, but it's you definitely learn a lot. I mean, it never goes waste. You always It'll always help you in terms of people management, in terms of the basics of your field. It'll always be useful to you. So it is never advisable to do a dummy articleship. It is a sheer waste. It's not that you cannot work so much and then you cannot crack your exams. Everybody cracks their exams in spite of doing in spite of having a very hectic schedule in your articleship.
Right. He's going for dummy articleship. It is definitely a violation
Of
of
course,
what
of course. So
students are
that should
required to do
never
to
be
complete the course.
encouraged.
Right. And also the message is that
Decide,
articleship would
decide.
definitely help
Right.
you subsequently if you're starting on practice. Right. Had you not done your articleship and you had to start your practice after 2 years of job, how
Oh, it would
different do
have
you
been
think it would be for you
impossible.
to start the practice then?
Impossible. Like articleship is like you literally see
Okay.
how you are going to practice. But not just practice. Even if you're doing a job, articleship is equally important because what you do in your articleship again helps you forms the basis of what you do in a job. So even if you do, if I had not done an articleship and then I directly landed up in my job, it wouldn't have helped, you know. Like you need to know certain things because it's all very technical, and you need to be there, do that. I mean, to get a first-hand experience to be later on able to do the same things.
Right. So articleship is experience necessary no matter what you do ahead after completing a course. At the same time, it helps you understand what areas of
Right,
practice or CA field you are interested in
right.
because you're trying them out actually at the work. Right. So it was good to hear about that. Bijal, what advice would you like to give to prospective CA students and to students for whom is this course, do you think, appropriate? What can a student expect if he joins this course, or what abilities or skills will be tested?
Right.
Now, who
So
should
I
opt for this
think
course?
CA is a course which opens up a lot of opportunities in terms of fields of finance, tax laws, auditing, management consultancy, you know, portfolio management and stuff like that. However, it's a totally commerce and a business course. And so you have to really like the whole concept of how businesses work, and if you have to be good with numbers, you have to like playing around with numbers, like playing around in Excel specifically, and you should it's very easy to enter, like I mentioned earlier. So you have to be very sure whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it. You have to be really motivated and dedicated to finish this course. If that is not the case, if you aren't sure, then you shouldn't get into it, because if you don't get out of it, then you are just a graduate and you don't really have a degree in spite of giving so many years to the course. So you have to be prepared to work very hard. You have to be prepared to work as well as study, as well as manage with your graduation along with the CA studies, attend your classes, whatever self study, however you plan to study. And you have to make sure that you clear your exams in the first attempt or the second attempt, because the more the number of attempts, the more difficult it gets to crack this exam, because it tests your patience, it tests your tolerance levels, and it can get really difficult if you take a lot of attempts. And one more important advice is that you should always keep your alternate plan or ready, or at least you have to think about it, that if it doesn't happen in say 4 or 5 attempts, then you should be prepared to leave it at whatever stage it is and start with something else, because you cannot endlessly keep giving this exam and not really land up anywhere. So it is very critical. And I don't mean to scare students, but it is definitely a lot of hard work.
Okay, but what
So
could be the
alternate
alternate
plans
plans?
can be, say, so see, this course is a course which you can do post your 12th alongside your graduation. So when you're doing your graduation, anyway, you're not doing anything else. So you can always pursue this course. But post your graduation, you can do your MBA as well. So say if you can't see yourself clearing these exams, you can begin with your MBA preparations, or side by side you can also consider doing your law or your company secretary or your other courses which are there, which you can always consider if this doesn't work out.
Bijal, your last word to CA students. What would you like to tell them, or students who are
Take
looking
up
to
this
take up this
course only
course?
if you're very serious about completing it, and it is a lot of hard work, but it is at the same time a lot of fun. You meet really nice people all along your course. There are a lot of trainings that the institute gives, soft skills trainings and stuff like that, which really grooms your personality. You get a social circle which is, very intelligent, and you it helps you overall in your life. And so, yeah, feel free to get in touch with me if you ever need any help. I'll be very happy to help.
Sure. Wonderful.
Same
Thank you
here,
so much,
same here.
Bijal.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure talking to you.